and welcome to the Irresistible Marketing Pod, the podcast that wants your messaging to be absolutely magnetic for your aligned customers. I'm your host, Isa Gauchi, your marketing confidence cheerleader and owner of the Isa Messaging digital marketing agency for small business baddies such as yourself. Today, we're going to talk about why I am begging you to stop skipping stating the obvious in your messaging. So look, y'all, a surprising number of business owners skip over their most obvious selling points in their marketing. So I'm going to give you a few examples, a little anonymized, of folks I've actually helped with their messaging. So this is what we've hammered out. This is a service by and for gay and trans people. Your whole session will be focused on you, not educating us on queer culture. Example number 2. We're already onboarded. We have nearly 20 years of experience partnering with this unique, high-profile sector. So with us, you're only paying for deliverables, not for getting us up to speed like you would have to with another agency. Number 3 example. Pain is a warning your brain sends you when it perceives a current or imminent threat to your tissues. Chronic pain often represents a malfunctioning warning system. When we address the danger your brain thinks it's protecting you from, the pain often goes away. That's why this approach will work when 30 allopathic doctors didn't. These all sound pretty straightforward, right? Like pretty good. These are some kind of obvious selling points for these services. But here's the thing. This messaging was not being clearly stated in their marketing before working with me. It wasn't showing up in ad headlines or page headers. It was absent from sales pages, about us blurbs, and posts about the offer. And this is not to bash any of these business owners. They're all brilliant geniuses. But it literally took me pulling together a full messaging framework for them to start putting their most important selling points front and center in their marketing, and then get to watch their sales and conversion rates climb. Now, this is not an uncommon scenario, and this is not like people that are bad at marketing. Like, a lot of them are great at marketing. I've just noticed over my career that there is a strange and super common phenomenon where businesses of all sizes really struggle to put their main selling points front and center. And odder still, this usually isn't because they're unaware of these selling points. I mean, sometimes it is, but usually it's not. They just seem to have difficulty repeating and hammering home points they feel are obvious. But this is what I tell them and you, dear listener. Just because it's obvious to you does not mean it's obvious to them. What's obvious to you about your business and your offer is often not obvious to new customers and visitors happening across your brand for the first time. This is especially true if you're not talking about your obvious selling points in your marketing. It's also important to remember that not everyone assumes they're welcome, and it is not obvious to everyone that they're welcome. Especially if you are marketing to customers who belong to any sort of marginalized group that has historically been unwelcome in mainstream systems and institutions, they are not going to assume they're welcome to your event, your store, your program, etc. They need a specific invitation that needs to be delivered through everything in your marketing, like the branding, especially the messaging, the look and feel, etc., etc., etc. I think another roadblock for people forgetting to state the obvious, or the obvious to them in their messaging, is that they worry that the obvious is boring. So while you might be getting tired of saying similar things over and over again across multiple marketing channels, I just want you to remember that only a fraction of your audience sees any one thing you post anyway. Plus, according to the marketing rule of 7 of lore, they need to encounter the message at least 7 times to have built up enough know, like, and trust to feel safe investing in the offer. So reminding them what they will get out of your offer is essential to effective marketing. So even your most obvious selling points absolutely bear repeating. A lot of repeating. Of course, do play with the way that you say it so you can hone your messaging and figure out the best, most resonating way you can phrase it or communicate it or the formatting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's definitely room for experimentation. Play with how you deliver the message, but do give them a chance to encounter the message enough for it to hit home and sink in. All right. So I want you to remember another reason why it's important to state the obvious to you in the marketing is that part of the job of messaging is to connect the dots so that they don't have to. We want to remove as much friction and effort as possible on the road to checkout, which means rather than expecting them to do a ton of research and mental jumps all on their own, we should lay out the important info for them. We should say the obvious part, spell out the benefits, connect those benefits to their desires, etc., etc. Also, please do spell out who it's for. Most people won't just assume it's relevant to them or that they're welcome, like we mentioned earlier. So let's go a little further with the examples I shared at the beginning, or a couple of them. So why does nearly 2 decades of institutional knowledge make a difference? Whereas you might have to spend significant time getting a competing agency up to speed on your institutional context, with us, we're already in your system. We can just start doing the work. Talk about saving time, energy, and money. So, do you see how it was important to connect that not only do they have institutional knowledge, but how it's going to save time, money, and effort for the client, and they wouldn't get this similar savings if they went with another competing agency? All right, example number 2. Why does it matter to have a business made by and for queer and trans people? Well, there is so much of your context that you won't have to explain to folks who share lived experiences with you. It removes the burden of having to educate the practitioner about the culture and keeps the focus of your sessions on you. It results in way less emotional labor on your part and way more enjoying the benefits of the service. So again, connecting why having that knowledge and shared context benefits the person, spelling it out, important. Spell it out even if it's obvious to you, it's often not as obvious to them. All right, another note. A lot of us are speaking at a 400 level in our marketing when our customers are really at a 101 level. So I often ask folks who are positioned as experts, or they're wanting people to come to them to be told what to do or to gain knowledge they don't have. So these folks, if you're in that sort of position, if you're a consultant, if you are a coach, if you're a healer, and you have deep subject matter knowledge and expertise in an area, and the people who would hire you don't, you have to speak at the level of awareness and knowledge that they're at. So if they're just happening across you and the need they're trying to meet is, I need someone who knows all this stuff and I don't. To make this effective, you have to be speaking to me on my level. You have to go to the one-on-one level so it's not hard for me to understand what you're offering me and how it benefits me. So, just a caveat, you don't need to demonstrate your expertise with complex jargon-laced messaging because that will just go right over your people's heads. Your ability to explain it clearly and simply and accessibly in a way that they can understand that matches their current level of awareness demonstrates your knowledge for you. So, you gotta speak to their current level of knowledge and awareness. All right, so lastly, when we are now since we are all now convinced to state the obvious in our messaging, we are also going to back it up. You can and should reinforce the power of your messaging by showing your receipts. Receipts can come in many forms, like testimonials and reviews, client logo walls of impressive businesses or people you've already served, case studies, portfolios showcasing examples of your work, free resources that allow folks to access the transformative experience of working with you, impressive stats like how many similar projects you've completed, average ROI, number of clients served, etc., etc. There's a lot of ways to demonstrate that you have a lot of foundation for what you're saying and claiming the benefits and transformation of your work is. So your receipts prove the obviousness of the benefit, which is what we want. We want the benefit of working with you or buying your product to be obvious to other people. So we state the obvious to us because we want to make sure it's also obvious to our potential aligned customers. All right, so if you're not sure what your main selling point is, like we don't have an obvious selling point we're skipping over, or if you're like, okay, but how do I state the obvious in an appealing way? You're going to want the brand storytelling package where I will just hand you exactly what to say to sell for you. So all you have to do is brain dump your thoughts and ideas in a 90-minute session with me, and I will go hone all of that brilliant raw material into a messaging masterpiece for you. That is, I'll give you a messaging framework or a document that spells out exactly what you need to say to sell and gives you crystal clarity about your brand identity, your aligned customers, and the benefits of your offers. I've had clients tell me the messaging framework I give them cuts down onboarding time by more than 50%, since rather than having to spend hours and hours trying to explain the brand to each new team member or contractor, they can just hand them the messaging framework and it keeps everyone on brand, working on cohesive, powerful marketing that builds off of each other rather than piecemeal shots in the dark. Plus, it makes writing your sales pages and social media captions such a breeze because you can pull wording right from your messaging framework. I've also got a special going on right now where the first 3 people to check out win complimentary website and copywriting services worth thousands of dollars in addition to your brand storytelling package. All right. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. Please make sure to subscribe and share a positive review to keep more episodes coming your way. DM me if you have any episode or guest topics. I always love to hear your feedback. And with that, that's it. XOXO. Gossip Girl here. Just kidding. Isa out.